Following a worldwide manhunt that lasted over 4 years, 2 men were captured in the winter of 2017 and brought to trial. They face charges including attempts to violate pop culture and sabotage the planet's entertainment industry. After being held for less than 48 hours, these 2 men escaped from a maximum security facility. The fugitives are now believed to be holding up in an unknown secret location where they continue to broadcast their messages to their ever-growing army of renegade followers. Known only by the code names of Theo Cane and Respek BA, these men are armed, these men are dangerous, and these men are criminals.
1, 2, testing. This is Theo Cane
and Respek BA,
and you are now locked into the sound of the Slimehouse Squadcast.
And this is the Lowdown Shelter.
And we're back again, and you are now, as always, locked into the sound of the motherfucking Slimehouse podcast. Boom, we're back again. And this is another special that we're going to be doing today. It was recently announced that Robert Rodriguez is going to be directing the Escape from New York remake. The original Escape from New York from 1981. So myself and my brother, Respek BA,
what is cracking, citizens of the universe,
are going to be going over who we think should play Snake Plissken. The social media's been going crazy today. We asked quite a few people. Well, we asked this morning and quite a lot of people got in touch with us saying who they think they should play Snake. So we're just going to have a little recap of the first 2 original movies to begin with, and then we can get into the remake and who we think should be playing Snake motherfucking Plissken. One of my favourite anti-heroes of all time, would you agree, BA?
Yeah, man, I'm a huge fan of Escape from New York. Not the biggest fan of Escape from LA, but I like the Snake Plissken character. Yeah.
He was like, growing up, seeing Snake Plissken, he was just like the pinnacle of fucking cool. He was literally like, the first ever time I saw it was actually in a cinema. It was, someone was showing it in Sheffield. So I went and watched it. And it's not actually one that I watched as a kid, Escape from LA. I got onto it when I was about 17, something like that. And my friend who does a lot of film screenings. In fact, his name's Rob, and he now runs the Celluloid Screams Horror Film Festival, which is fucking huge. But at the time, he used to run like an underground thing called Mondo Cinema with a few other guys, and that's the first time I ever properly watched Escape from LA. So Escape from New York. So there'd been times growing up where I'd seen little bits of it, but it's one that I didn't watch till a lot later in life. But it come to me at the perfect time. Do you know when a film just does that? It just hits you at the perfect time. And ever since that, I was just obsessed with it and how cool Snake Plissken were. I don't know when you first saw it.
Well, what's mad? No, I can't even remember, but it was when I was young. But I've seen it like 4 or 5 times, and it's a film I proper rate. But see, when you told me about us doing this podcast tonight, I was like, man, I'm having like memories of certain bits, but the full storyline. I remember obviously the president's pod, like the plane gets shot down or something, so his pod ends up in the fucking bit in New York, which is cordoned off. Yeah. And I remember the bit where he first drops in, and he's going through that building and gets like, a guy like sticks him up or something, one of the first people he runs into. And then obviously I remember there's some like, am I right in thinking there's some Thunderdome type shit later on?
Yeah. Well, what happens is basically Donald Pleasance is a president that's on the way to like a presidential meeting to basically...
Rest in peace, Donald Pleasance,
Yeah,
mate.
Rest in peace, Donald Pleasance every time. And he's basically on a plane off on his way to a meeting that is basically the defining factor of whether there won't be a World War III, basically. So he's on his way to the summit, and while he's on his way, like freedom fighter terrorist guerrillas hijack his plane and end up crashing it and his escape pod flies out and lands in New York, which is now the biggest prison in the world. And the plane crashes, but because he's in an escape pod, he survives. So you don't actually, basically due to budget limitations at the time, you don't see the plane actually crash. It's all done through like a crazy grid, like 3D kind of.
That grid shit was cool though, man.
Yeah, it was sick. It was basically a huge city that they'd like a huge scale model that they'd built, and it was painted with luminous green on black, wasn't it? Yeah, and then shot like in glow in the dark style, but it worked fucking perfect. Yeah, so you never see the pod crash physically. You see the like the radar kind of diagram of it, the 3D grid interpretation of what's happening kind of thing. But it's just, for the time, it's just pioneered so many cool effects. Also, a nice fun fact is that all the glass matte painting was done by James Cameron. James Cameron did the matte painting for that. So obviously, while he was directing, he was still working as a matte painter in Hollywood. So
That's sick.
That's another cool fact there. And there's loads of cool stuff that makes this film what it is. Obviously, it's not actually all shot in New York because New York doesn't look like that. So a lot of the stuff was filmed in various other places. I don't know exactly where it were, but I remember I've listened to so many podcasts and interviews, with John Carpenter, and he explains how a lot of the shots where you see all shops like smashed up and abandoned and things, there was like a huge fire that took out like so many blocks. The city, whatever city it was in, I can't remember. I don't even want to say because I can't remember. But there was like an actual fire. So just after that fire had happened, before they cleaned it up, he got permission to go in and film in it, and film the shops, that were all like demolished. And the scene where Snake walks across the demolished plane, it's one of my favorite fucking scenes ever. But you basically see Snake walking across the plane that's gone down, and it's all on fire and broke into two halves, and that were like a plane that they had cut in half and hired in to build this huge set. And nowadays a lot of that shit had all been done CG against a green screen, but for the time, do you know what I mean, pre-digital effects, just fucking killing it. Just looked awesome, and it set the bar for that like post-apocalyptic kind of like dystopian fucking derelict future. Like all those films that we see nowadays, like Escape from New York, really set the bar for a lot of them and influenced most of them. It's just got a cool as fuck storyline. You have this dude Snake Plissken. Have you ever basically you find out at the start of the film that he's got caught doing a bank robbery, and he's like one of the coolest dudes on the planet. They read his resume for all the stuff that he's done. Then you find out it was he was kind of like disgraced, and then he's been caught for bank robbing. So he's just, as soon as he appears, you just see the coolest fucking guy ever. And they read his resume off and tell you how cool he is, and then tell him that he's about to go to prison. Now, I don't know if you remember, but there's like New York is the biggest prison, and that's where everyone gets sent in America, I think. And I think that's what they've done it like. Anyone that commits any kind of crime in America, they just dump them in New York now. It's the biggest maximum security facility. So there might be other ones, I can't remember, but that's the biggest one. And while you're walking into the prison, it has something on the floor like an orange line that diverts the different places. And the sign, there's like a voiceover, and it's like, follow the orange line, no smoking. If you want to be terminated on site, please notify the official that's walking you. So you can actually ask to be terminated on site. And what were cool is I went to see John Carpenter last year. He did a performance. He performed all his music, like all his soundtracks, because he composes them all. And it was in Manchester, he called the Manchester Warehouse, I think it's called, and they actually had the orange line on the floor with signs saying, follow the orange line, no talking, no smoking, which were cool as fuck.
That's sick.
Yeah, so basically Snake has a choice. He can either go into, basically he's going in there anyway, that's what he says. He says, either way you're going into New York, or he says, I guess I'm going in either way. But Lee Van Cleef, hold tight that guy every fucking time. Hawk in the film, he's just like one of my fucking heroes of all time, Lee Van Cleef, from Good, the Bad and the Ugly and the Sergio Leone westerns and stuff. He makes him a deal, and he says, I'll wipe all your criminal record clean if you go into New York, into the prison, and free the president. And then so Snake's like, well, I don't have any choice, do I? Either way I go in, so just give me the paperwork, I'll sign it, I'll go in and rescue your president. So before he goes in, they give him a load of cool weapons and said, this is all your stuff that you can take in with you. They give him like a sick Mac 11 with a fucking like a big scope on the top of it, which I don't know why you'd want a scope on a Mac 11, because it's literally like a fire and fucking spray, but it looks cool as fuck. They give him some shurikens. You got to hold out the shuriken every time. They just give him a lot of cool shit basically, and they send him into New York. But before doing that, they inject his neck with these like nanobite things that'll little explosions. He goes, just enough to pop both your arteries, and he'd be dead if within a short space of time. So he injects him with these things in his neck so that he can't turn the Gulf Flyer around, which is like a plane that he's sent into New York with. And from then he has to get Donald Pleasance back, the president, and he says to him, he's like, you've got 24 hours before the summit. So Snake's like, what if I'm a little late? He's like, if you're late, then there's no more summit, then there's no more Snake Plissken. And he said, and there's just one of my favourite lines in the film where Lee Van Cleef says to him about you've got to this is your mission. And Kurt Russell's questioning him on it, like, so what if I don't do it? And he's like, he says, oh, what happens? What's this in aid of? And he says, the survival of the human race, Plissken, something you'll never give a shit about. And I always like that line. So that's basically the story of Escape from New York. He's got 24 hours to get Donald Pleasance out of the biggest prison in the world. But once you go into New York, there's no police officers in there. There's no wardens or nothing. It's just a no man's fucking desolate, a no man's land, desolate fucking war zone. You go in there and it's fucking hell on earth. And Snake's the only dude that he's cool enough to be able to just go in there and fucking deal with it. And that's why whoever plays him in this new film has got a lot to fucking live up to, because Plissken is the coolest fucking guy in film ever, in my opinion. As much as I've got so many fucking heroes like Stallone and shit playing some of my favourite characters ever, like what Kurt did with Snake Plissken is he just fucking breathes cool. He's the coolest fucker ever. He don't give a shit about anyone or anything. All he cares about is robbing banks and being a fucking bad man and walking around with his eye patch on, smoking fags, looking fucking cool as fuck. So they've got a lot to live up to. And then 50... yeah, carry it. Sorry, you were saying. I'm talking a lot.
There's no getting around this shit, Mr. Sit on the fence over here. We got to talk about Escape from LA.
Yeah. We have got to talk about Escape from LA.
Now, did you like it?
Well, what I'll say is, I love Escape from New York. To me, Escape from New York is the perfect movie, and without going through every fucking scene, Escape from New York is the perfect movie, and it's also got one of the sickest endings ever. Now, if you remember, at the end of Escape from New York, he just about makes it. He just makes it on time. He gets Donald Pleasance back. He saved Donald Pleasance live. At this point, Donald Pleasance has lost a fucking finger. Snake's been shot in the leg with a fucking crossbow. He's on his last legs. He's got the Duke chasing him out of there, out of New York, and who's played by Isaac Hayes, rest in peace. And he just gets Donald Pleasance out of New York just in time. Now, as soon as they get out of New York, boom, they've got to quickly record a message for the summit. And part of the message is they have to play a cassette tape, and this cassette tape is kind of like the speech that will say that will say that we're not going to war. So Snake Plissken's limping off with his crossbow in his leg. He looks at Donald Pleasance, who barely says thank you to him as he's getting his bruises and cuts on his face, makeup over so that he looks presentable on camera, and Snake's just walking off. Now, earlier in the film, Snake was in a cab. He meets a dude called Cabby that drives a cab around New York, and he has some cassette tapes in his car. So at some point, Snake has took one of those cassette tapes and he swapped it with the one that's supposed to stop World War III. So that film basically ends with Snake walking off, pulling the fucking tape out of the cassette to ruin the tape that's supposed to be played to stop World War III, while Donald Pleasance plays a fucking random song. So it's just the coolest ending ever. It just shows after all that, Snake's like, do you know what? Fuck off. Fucking, you can bring World War III on. I've just been in World War III. I don't really give a fuck. And he walks off, just pulling the fucking cassette tape out of the cassette, and the film just ends. And I just fucking love that ending, because it just shows after all that, Snake Plissken still thought, do you know what? You didn't appreciate what I did. You can have your fucking war. I'm built for this shit. You're not. So I always love that ending. So obviously there's no World War III, because Escape from LA happened 15 years later, again starring Kurt Russell and directed by John Carpenter. And you said that you don't like this film. Let's hear why from yourself.
Well, you know why, mate. There's a lot of things wrong with it, mate. I think there's a lot of things like, I don't know, man. Like, first of all, he wastes loads of screen time with bait shit. I think, like, the cheese worked in the first film and the cheese doesn't work in the second film. It's like a parody of itself.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to think, it came out at a time where there was a lot of films that were not good. CG was really, you got a lot of bad CG in the early 90s. Well, it's mid 90s, isn't it? It's 96. You got a lot of bad CG back then. you had films like Spawn, which I always thought was a cool as fuck film, but it's got some bad CG. And there was a lot of films around that time that had that kind of...
Hold tight, the two drive-by shooters with the worst shots in history. They make stormtroopers look like SAS sniper units, mate. Can you remember that bit where he just looks around and there's two opposing cars firing machine guns at each other?
Yeah, on Hollywood Boulevard. And,
Hold tight.
Yeah, so it's basically the same story again. We see Snake Plissken. We see Snake Plissken turn up, very much like the first film. He's been caught again. He's wearing the exact same outfit pretty much from the first movie. So there's a lot of funny facts on IMDb that you could look at that me and my sister always laugh about, and I can't remember all of them, but it just sounds like it sounds like Kurt Russell wrote them all on the IMDb. It says stuff like Kurt Russell was still in great shape during the filming of Escape from LA. Kurt Russell's still fitting his outfit perfect from the film Escape from New York when he was performing in Escape from LA. There's just loads of things bigging up Kurt Russell that just make it look like he wrote them himself. But I mean, there's some terrible CGI in the film. Don't get me wrong, and it play for play pretty much is the first movie. But just think of the cast you got in there. You've got your Kurt Russell, you got Stacy Keach, you got Pam Grier, you got Steve Buscemi, you got fucking Bruce Campbell. Just to name a few. There's some awesome fucking people featured in this film. It had all the recipe to be a really good movie, and I always loved the soundtrack to it. It's like a westernized, more rock version of the original Escape from New York theme, and I honestly listen to that version more than I do the original Escape from New York movie. So there's a lot of bait stuff in it, like paragliding around and surfboarding and stuff like that. And there's, like, at the start, you know, when he gets put into like the submarine and fired underwater to get into LA, and there's like a really shitty CG shark that comes to bite him and shit like that. Like, don't get me wrong, there's bits like that didn't need to be in it. It plays a bit like a ride at Universal Studios, wouldn't you agree? It plays a bit like the opening of the film plays like a ride, like the video you'd see before one of the rides at Universal. Also, when he's walking down the line at the start of the film, it's the same. It's like, if you want to be terminated on sight, please notify your official. And you look to the side and there's people like being fried. It was just a bit, like you said, it was a bit more cheese than the first film. But it had a sick cast.
And the story choice and shit just wasn't as sick in my opinion, man. Like, I remember when I watched it, it was like, remember how weak Crow City of Angels was after the first Crow film?
Yeah. I know what
I felt kind of the same when I watched Escape from LA after Escape from New
you're
York.
not
But
alone.
you're right, he set the bar high as fuck.
Yeah,
so.
he did. He set the bar high, and you're not alone. A lot of people do feel the same. But anything like that, I still like to take a few positives from it. You've still got Kurt Russell playing Snake Plissken, being cool as fuck. You've got a sick cast, you've got a sick soundtrack, and it might not be as good as Escape from New York, and it might be very cheesy, but at the time, a lot of the films were similar, man, and it's just very reminiscent of its era. 90s was a bad time for lots of movies. They were still... I always find in the 90s, you get films like Con Air and Face Off and shit, and as much as I fucking love them movies, they were still finding the bridge between, like, the 80s cheese and the 90s, like, grounded movies. They were just finding a healthy balance, I always find. And if you watch a lot of those 90s movies, a lot of them, they struggle to find the tone. And I think they just struggled to find the tone of that movie. I think they were trying to keep the 80s flavour and the 80s vibe, but then use stuff like the 90s technology to do the CG and all that kind of thing. And in many ways it didn't work, but in lots of ways I still love that film, and I always come back to it. That's what I've got to say on Escape from LA.
Alright, well, this fucking brings us to why we're here.
Yeah, it does. It brings us to why we're doing this little special. So it was recently announced that John Carpenter it was recently announced that Robert Rodriguez is going to be remaking Escape from New York.
And you know how heavily I was bigging up Mr. Rodriguez on the Zombie Cast special for fucking Planet Terror.
We love that motherfucker. Robert Rodriguez is up there. He's the guy. He has a very, very good vision. He loves all this genre shit. If you know just a little bit about Robert Rodriguez, like if you know anything about him, I said before, he's a dude that put himself through medical experiments to fund his first film, El Mariachi. He's the fucking rebel without a crew, he's dubbed as. That's what his book was called as well. And he's a dude that was making independent features in his teens, and he just went on to smash it. He made a ton of cool shit. you're talking stuff like Desperado, and you're talking things like Dust Till Dawn and Planet Terror and Sin City, both the Sin City films. This is a dude that knows what he's doing, and also he knows how to pull the money in by doing stuff like Spy Kids and Shark Boy and Lava Girl and all them kind of movies. Actually, he got his own kids to write that film, Shark Boy and Lava Girl. His kids wrote the fucking synopsis for that. He's a cool motherfucker, man. He also has his own TV show in America, the El Rey Network, which just plays. That's just like my ideal fucking channel. It's like you made a channel for me. It plays like Knight Rider all day, and then it'll play fucking lucha wrestling all night, and then on Saturdays they'll play kaiju movies all night, and then they'll have like a Nightmare on Elm Street marathon hosted by Robert Englund. He's just a cool motherfucker that does cool shit.
And if you look at if you look at Planet Terror,
yeah,
like he understands how to make films like Escape from New York in the same vein, like, because Escape from New York is kind of grindhouse cinema, but just reeled in slightly. And
so
you know
it's
what I
more
mean?
classy. It's more classy than grindhouse cinema is Escape.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that are in the vein of grindhouse within that film, and just the way things are done. And I think Robert Rodriguez, if you look at Planet Terror, if he makes his Escape from New York film in the same sort of ilk as Planet Terror, I think it'll be fucking bad, mate. Sick.
It's one of them. I don't want anyone to ever fucking remake it. I don't want it to be touched, but it is going to get remade. There is no fucking. There is no say. It is going to happen. So I would rather my man Rodriguez be doing it rather than any other cunt. You know what I mean? Maybe Neil Blomkamp. Neil Blomkamp's the only other guy that I'd like to see make it, just because he understands that shit so much as well.
Imagine how much of a good roll of the dice that was. It could have been fucking Michael Bay, mate.
It could have been
Robert
Michael
Rodriguez
Bay. You know
is
what I mean?
remaking this shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's going to get remade, and since it is going to get remade, like, Robert Rodriguez is a fucking excellent choice out of the fucking pool of shit cunts that they could have picked.
That's it,
they
bro.
actually picked a sick guy.
They picked a sick guy. So I'm not looking forward to it. I won't lie. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm very apprehensive, but I'm also happy that if anyone was going to remake it, it's Robert Rodriguez. So he's the guy that's going to be fucking with it. That's confirmed. Now, whether that fucks up or not, who knows? But for now, on the 13th of March 2017, today, as it stands, that's who's going to be directing Escape from New York. So the reason we're here today is we want to talk about who we think should play Snake Plissken. So, like I said at the start of the podcast, the people on social media have been firing off all different kinds of ideas. So maybe before we talk about ours, we should talk about who the listeners think. We could go through a couple of them. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's do it.
So the first one that we got is David Hayter. Do you want to just tell the people who David Hayter is if they don't know?
Yeah, I didn't know as soon as I saw the name, but then I IMDb'd him and I was like, okay, this guy. And I don't know if that's a half jokey answer, because obviously he does do the voice of Snake in the Metal Gear Solid games, and I understand Snake is a character which is based off of Snake Plissken, and he does have a sick voice, but I just don't think he has the all-round shit necessary to play that character. So I understand why you would give him a shout, but I wouldn't choose that guy possibly.
Nah, he's more like a fanboy thing, isn't it? To say that's who we should go for.
Yeah.
So yeah, as much as that would have been cool. I mean, he's got the curtains, he's got the hair. See, this is the thing. Snake Plissken to me, he's got to have an eye patch and he's got to have that fucking long hair. That's Snake Plissken. If we're gonna go with that, if we're gonna go with the same kind of vibe, I remember hearing a while ago, a good few years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, that there was a contract, an obituary. Is that the word? It was obituary. It had to be stuck to. Obligatory. Yeah. John Carpenter had an obligatory rule in his contract, and it's that Snake Plissken had to wear an eye patch and he had to be a fucking badass. So at least we get to tick those two off the list. But yeah, in my opinion, he needs to have the cool fucking hair. So this guy, David Hayter, he does have the hair, and he has got the voice. But David Hayter, he's probably not going to be playing Snake, as cool as that would be. So Josh Brolin, Katie Lee says Josh Brolin.
Okay, you know when you first told me about this today, and I was thinking about who I would pick. Josh Brolin was a guy that I thought about for the second, but then I thought he's a slightly too heavy set fella. I don't think he's quite that fucking Snake Plissken physicality, but he does have the swagger and all that, so that's why it's a good choice. I understand why that person would have said that, but I just think he's slightly physically not what I picture when I think of Snake Plissken. He's more of like a tank class human being, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Just a fun fact: he's just been cast as Cable in Deadpool 2. Josh Brolin's playing
Sick.
Cable in Deadpool 2, so he's gone from playing Thanos in the Avengers movies straight to play it. I mean, he voices Thanos, but you wouldn't get one actor playing it in a Fox movie and a Disney Marvel movie playing the same comic character. It just wouldn't happen, to my knowledge. So he's gone straight into playing Cable in Deadpool 2. And as much as you know how I feel about Deadpool movies, it's still fucking cool that they've got him playing it. There were so many people they were throwing around who could have played that. They said Dolph Lundgren, they said they said Ron Perlman, they said Pierce Brosnan was shouted around for a bit. There were loads of people, but Josh Brolin deserves that. He's a cool guy, and I think he'll be a perfect Cable. He'd be a much better Cable than he would a Snake, in my opinion. This guy, I can't even spell his name. Matthias Schoenaerts. Am I saying that right? Matthias Schoenaerts. He's another guy that I'm not familiar with. But that's someone that's someone that was shouted at by Bender. Hold tight, Bender.
Oh yes, what's cracking, Bender?
King of the Dot champion, fucking legend out here, G. So she
good
shouts,
guy as well, man.
I think Bender should play fucking Snake Plissken, or at least be in that fucking movie. That guy's a fucking don.
Definitely. If Snake Plissken kicked a door in and walked into a crack den with me, you and Bender in it, though, that would be his last hoorah, son. So they can't be doing that.
But that would never happen, because why would me, you, and fucking Bender ever be in a crack den? Do you mean in the movie?
Well,
in real
I don't
life?
think we've got many options for like a nice room in New York when it's the biggest prison in the world. I think anywhere we chose would be a crack den. I'm not saying we opted to go there. I'm just saying that everywhere.
I'll say that I'll stick to the fucking Lowdown Shelter. But this, I mean, you see, Bender's like us. He's a film connoisseur. He knows a lot about movies, and he'll watch a lot of stuff that I hadn't even seen and you hadn't even seen. So whoever this dude is, Matthias Schoenaerts, that's who's Bender's shouting at. So I don't even know who he is personally, but if Bender's shouting him, he's got to be a good shout. He also said a couple of others. Now this one's the obvious one, and he'll probably will end up fucking playing him. But Tom Hardy, people are saying Tom Hardy. Bender's saying Tom Hardy. I know you had a lot of other people saying Tom Hardy.
Yeah, I thought he was an obvious choice for it as well, especially after like Mad Max, because Mad Max isn't a far cry from Snake Plissken. Mel Gibson as Mad Max could have played Snake Plissken back in the days. You know what I mean? Kind of similar swagger. Yeah, no,
Tom Hardy, he's got the look, he's got the physicality. He's the acting skill is sick, and he can play that like that brooding kind of fucking don't really say nothing attitude to fuck, don't give a fuck, just give me a gun, let me shoot some cunts so I can fuck off kind of attitude. He's got that attitude about him, definitely. And if they put Tom Hardy in it, then it's going to be a big fucking hit. So that's obviously something that they're going to be looking into. Now I know that Rodriguez, he doesn't get the biggest fucking movie deals. He won't get the biggest budget. And I'd said that Escape from New York, the remake's probably going to be one of the biggest budgets that he ever gets. Wouldn't you agree? It's got to be like bigger than Sin City, the budget to make Escape from New York.
You would think it's going to get a decent budget.
Definitely. If George Miller can come back...
You would hope, in a way.
Yeah, if George Miller can come back to action and get the budget that he got for Mad Max, I'd like to think that Rodriguez can get this budget he needs for Escape from New York. So I think budget permitted, Tom Hardy would be a fucking sick Snake Plissken, and he is the obvious choice. I didn't really want to go with obvious choices on this podcast, but yeah, we've got to shout out Tom Hardy. He's probably one of the runners in the forefront for playing Snake Plissken, without a doubt. And he also said a fucking crazy shout, but if this dude put on the fucking muscle mass, he might just be able to pull it off. But with recent events, I don't know how much they'd go for it. But I know that Robert Rodriguez does like a wild card, and it does depend completely on how much control Robert Rodriguez has over the movie. But Bender also shouted out Shia LaBeouf.
Nah, not for me.
Not for me either. But I can see why he'd say that, because like he's probably got that expendable kind of quality now, where he's like Hollywood's kind of fucking shit on him and left him and not really and kind of forgotten about him. So I think that, and he's a talented dude. He doesn't have that badass about him yet, but I think maybe if he grizzled himself up a bit and put on a bit of fucking muscle mass, he could do that. So it's not my personal shout, but I can see why Bender would say that.
Bender, you know I've got your back, mate, but Snake Plissken, if Snake Plissken got forced to watch all his movies in a row, he would shoot the screen.
Yeah,
Snake Plissken would never walk around with a bag on his head saying, I'm not famous.
No,
you know
no.
what I mean?
But again, that's a whole different story.
But yeah, good shouts though, other than that.
On a wild card one. And then Ben Foster, he's also shouting out Ben Foster, that could work.
Yeah.
On something like completely different. Ben Foster, he could put on a muscle mass, he can walk around looking crazy and not giving a fuck. It'd be a very different Snake Plissken, but it would be a Snake Plissken nonetheless. And I don't know if he's got that. Has he got that leading man quality about him? Like, is he a leading man, Ben Foster? I'm not sure how many films he's been in where he is like the poster boy of it. He's always like the side guy.
Yeah, I think they should get a bigger name just because obviously the film will make more money, and I think it deserves to make money, man.
Yeah, that's it. But I don't really want to think too much about how much money it's going to make. I'm just thinking. I'm not even thinking realistically who they're going to pick. Obviously, they're going to pick someone like Tom Hardy, but I just think who would be sick for the role. It could be a nobody. It could be someone that's fucking an A-list celeb. Just thinking who would be best to play Snake Plissken. Josh Holloway. I'm not sure who this guy is. John Love shouted out Josh Holloway. I'm not sure who he is, so I did a bit of research, and he's got the hair. He's definitely got the Snake Plissken hair. I'm not too sure what else he's in. I mean, he's in Sabotage, the Schwarzenegger film, which I've watched a ton of times, but I can't seem to pinpoint who he is in it. Like, I kind of know who he is in the film, but not enough to stand out and not enough to play Snake Plissken for me. But I don't know him well enough to comment on it. What about you? Do you know Josh Holloway?
No, I don't, mate.
You don't know him yourself? No. So moving on. Robert Nepper, another guy that I didn't know who he were. Robert Nepper. Do you know this dude?
I do not.
Yeah, I don't know Robert Nepper either. But yeah, he's another one that was shouted at. So I'm not sure who that dude is. Now, this is a nice shout, and this guy could pull it off. Make some noise for fucking Carl Urban. He's a sick dude. That's do you know what I mean? He killed it as Dredd. He can do that fucking Clint Eastwood kind of voice. Just a fun fact: when out of the two of the main films that Kurt Russell did with John Carpenter, he adapted two of the biggest Western stars as his influence. So when he did Big Trouble in Little China, he did John Wayne. That's why he's like, "My name's Jack Burton." Jack Burton always says, doing doing that. And then when he did doing the John Wayne, and then when he did Escape from New York, he was doing the Clint Eastwood. You know what I'm saying? The brooding, the quiet, the fuck that, I'm going to Hollywood kind of fucking voice. You know what I'm saying? I guess I go in one way or the other. Just give me the fucking paperwork. He's got that kind of vibe going on. So I don't remember the lines exactly, but he went for the Clint Eastwood. So I can see why Carl Urban would be a good choice for that, because Carl Urban did Dredd very much the same. And he kind of got shit on with Dredd. Dredd's a fucking sick film, but he kind of got shitted on because it came out at the same time as The Raid, and everyone loved that instead. And I'm not hating on Gareth Evans, and The Raid's one of my fucking favourites, but it's just a shame that because that Dredd film was so fucking good. It just nailed the tone of Dredd so well. So I think he kind of deserves another stab at that kind of character. So do you know what I mean? If Carl Urban was playing Snake Plissken, I wouldn't hate on that. Also, my friend Greg Staples, that's doing the Unit 11 poster, another shameless plug, he worked with Carl Urban because he did a lot of the concept art for the Dredd movie, and he said that Carl
was just about to say, see, when I watched that Greg Staples interview, mate, I was fucking gutted to hear that if Dredd had done well, the sequel was going to have Judge Death in it.
You know what I'm saying? Judge fucking Death.
And he was already working on the Judge Death concept art and shit, and then it got cancelled because the Dredd film never did well. That's a shame, mate.
So I think that Carl Urban could kill it as Snake Plissken, actually. I just need to see him have that air. You see, the thing is, like, he's very reminiscent of the 80s, isn't it? Escape from New York. That look, not many people can pull that off. But you still get a lot of wrestlers that have the long hair and they pull it off and look cool. So I reckon. And look at like Jason Momoa, he's rocking the fucking long hair 24/7. That's not no implant thing. That's not no extensions. He's got that for real. So I think that the long hair could still work if they do it right. Snake Plissken needs to have the vest on, the long hair, and the eye patch, and he needs to be a fucking bad man. And I think that Carl Urban could pull it off. So a dude, Sandy Rogers, he said Guy Pearce or maybe Dominic West. So Dominic West was another one that I weren't too fucking familiar with, but it's funny because he actually was born in Sheffield in 1969. So maybe I've even walked past him a few times. This is a dude he's in like John Carpenter and 300, Prepare for Glory and shit. And I think that he's obviously got a back catalogue of this kind of action work, but I'm not too familiar on him myself. Oh, okay, this is the dude that I'm just looking through his credentials now, and he's the dude that played Jigsaw in the Punisher movie. Do you know the Punisher Warzone film? So maybe. I mean, I couldn't really say I know enough about him to say yes or no, but that's another shout there, Dominic West. And Guy Pearce, I think I know why he's saying Guy Pearce. Have you seen the movie Lockout?
I haven't seen that, mate.
Well, the movie Lockout's cool as fuck, and it's basically like Escape from New York meets Die Hard in a space prison. And it's cool as fuck. It's like if it was made in the 80s, it'd be like a full-on cult hit, do you know what I mean? But it just came out and kind of got slept on. It's got like some quite bad CGI in it, but it doesn't take anything away from the film. So check out Lockout. Basically, Guy Pearce has to get sent into a prison to rescue the daughter of like a high-up dude, and it's just like him fighting all the fucking convicts and shit in there. Have you ever watched This Is England?
Yeah.
Well, you know Joseph Gilden, the guy that plays Woody in This Is England. He's in Misfits and all that kind of thing. He plays like the main dude in it, Woody.
Yeah.
Well, he's in the film Lockout, and he plays like this fucking horrible rapist convict, pickpocket, fucking degenerate bastard with like a white eye, and he plays a fucking sick bad guy in that film. So yeah, just I can see why he says Guy Pearce, and I can see that, but to me, Guy Pearce is a bit too good looking. Now, as much as Snake Plissken's gonna be like a guy that's hot for girls, he's not a guy that you look at and he's beautiful. Do you know what I mean? He's cool as fuck, and that's what makes him attractive to women, I'd like to think. As much as he's not an ugly dude, he's still got the big fucking chiseled jaw in it, and he's a guy's guy. Do you know what I mean? And to me,
he's a bad man.
Yeah,
mate.
he's a good looking bad man, but he's still a bad man, and I think that and I reckon that Guy Pearce might just be a bit too good looking to play Snake Plissken. That's my opinion on the Guy Pearce front.
Well, I've got a little wild card shout I'd like to shout, but someone else might have already said
Well,
it.
what I wanted to do is if it's cool, it's like we'll say ours last. We'll just go through what other people said, and then we'll do ours last.
But you know what?
Yeah.
All of my 4 picks have already been said now, except one.
Really?
So,
really?
Like, I might have fuck all to say at the end of this episode.
Well, yeah. Well, if we do go through that, then just shout it out. That's the one that you were gonna pick. Nah.
No, in fact, there's 2 left.
Christopher Hampshire shouted Eric Roberts. Now, Eric Roberts is cool as fuck, but he don't need to be playing Snake Plissken. He'd be playing like the role of the fucking president or something, or maybe the Lee Van Cleef role that sends him in. To me, he's an older dude now, and he's too old to play Snake Plissken, but he could definitely play the Hawk role, you know, of Lee Van Cleef, the dude that sends Snake Plissken into New York. So
I agree. It's not a good look, I don't think.
And the last one of this part of these ones is Katie Lee shouted out Sam Worthington, and I can see that Sam Worthington's still up there. He needs to grow that fucking hair if he's going to play Snake Plissken, in my opinion. But Sam Worthington's one of them that kind of got a little bit forgotten about. Like, he smashed it in Avatar, and then he did stuff after, like the Terminator Salvation and shit. But then you don't really hear too much about Sam Worthington anymore. I'm sure he does his thing, don't get me wrong, but I don't see his face plastered on stuff all the time. I'm sure that he's cemented as Sully in as Jake Sully in the Avatar movies, don't get me wrong, but I think he could play the Snake Plissken role. I reckon he just needs to grow that fucking hair. That's another good shout. He's a big dude. He's up there. I think he could do all right.
Yeah. So is that all of them, or is there more?
No, there's one more that someone Ryan Pepperlow that writes some stuff for us on Slimehouse and helps me now and again. We like sorting out sound and stuff, and he suggested let's switch it up completely. And what we're saying on a female Snake Plissken. Now I'm not adverse to a female Snake Plissken. He shouts for a female Snake Plissken, Jennifer Lawrence or Felicity Jones from Rogue One, and both of them are cool as fuck girls. Don't get me wrong. Maybe a bit young to play Snake Plissken. I like the fact that, see, to me, he needs to be a dude that's seen a lot of shit. He's not too old, but he's still not too young that he's not had a lot of life experience and done a lot of shit. To me, both them chicks are too young. They ain't got that could like have the body of work behind them. Maybe someone like Charlie Theron, someone like that could smash it. Do you know what I mean? Someone who's a bit older but still got it, still really good in shape, got the look, can play a bad gal, a bad chick. So there's always the chance it could be a female.
Not for me.
That not you, no?
I'm not opposed to this, yeah, but just because like this is all some weird fucking shit that's caused by this new movement of feminism, which, fair enough, I've got nothing against sane feminists, but the extreme ones spoil it for everyone else. And I think I'm all for shit like that, but just because just now these extremist feminists seem to be able to do whatever they want, fuck them. No, you can't. Male Snake Plissken, go fuck yourself.
Is that you, yeah?
That's me.
I would rather a fucking cool chick like Michelle Rodriguez play Snake Plissken than a fucking bait dude play him.
Oh, 100% agree with you, mate. Oh, fucking making a point aside.
Yeah. Because to me, Snake Plissken is the embodiment of fucking cool and fucking badass. And if you're going to have someone that is not cool and badass playing him, then I would rather a cool badass chick play him. To me, Snake Plissken is... it's a spirit. Do you know what I mean? It's a spirit that can be captured in both male or female, and if you can get a cool chick...
I think there's loads of MMA fighters female ones who would make a sick Snake Plissken.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure there would be. So if we're not even looking at like the box office takings, though, just fucking Scarlett Johansson as Snake Plissken, she'd play it fucking sick in my opinion. If you're gonna like completely switch it around, you know what I mean? Scarlett Johansson with an eye patch, fucking going into New York, steaming around with a fucking Mach 11 with a big scope on the end, and the fucking the big scope revolver. Are
you going to be disappointed if in the remake Snake Plissken doesn't get the same weapon loadout?
Yeah, but I'm sure he won't. I'm sure they'll make it in the future with some mad futuristic technology, and there's going to be all drones flying about and all that kind of shit like they always do. This is why I'm not looking forward to the movie anyway. But like I said, we're going to have to deal with it. So. That's just going through quite a few of the ones on social media that were fired at us. So I'd like to hear your opinion on who you reckon could play a good Snake Plissken.
Okay, there's only 2 picks left, but you said there's more on the.
No, that's it now. That's it now. That's it for social media. That's all I'm going through on social media. I think that's plenty.
All right. Well, first of all, I thought Hugh Jackman's not a bad shout.
Yeah. That was one that was on the social media actually that I just forgot to say. Good call.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Yeah, that's funny, isn't it? Though that he was on there. Good shout. He's stopped doing the Wolverine thing. He's the right age now to play Snake Plissken because he's come through as a more grizzled dude that's seen a lot of shit. He's got a good body of work behind him. He's still in shape. He's a fucking bad man. Hugh Jackman as Snake Plissken would be fucking sick.
Yeah, man. And my last one is repping for the homies, straight from Paisley, Scotland, hold tight, Gerard Butler.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say it.
Alright, you can say what you want, yeah, but this is Sparta, followed by the teep kick to the chest down the fucking well. Is still the most gangster shit that's been on screen in the last fucking 15 years, mate. Like, that's some fucking barbarian shit. And obviously, I think he could fucking pull it off. I don't know. Maybe it's because he's Scottish. Fuck it, Gerard Butler for Snake Plissken.
Well, Gerard Butler was one of the names that was flying around like in general on the internet when this got announced. So it's very fucking likely that Gerard Butler could do it. He's still got the fucking star quality. He still pulls in people at the box office. He did the Olympus Has Fallen and London Has Fallen, and both them. I don't know about how much London Has Fallen pulled in, but Olympus Has Fallen pulled in a big fucking box office budget. So it's very likely that they could go with that dude. So yeah, 2 very good shouts. And do you know what?
What do you think about Gerard Butler as Snake Plissken? Would you think that's a decent choice, or would you not choose him?
No, I think it's a decent choice. I think Hugh Jackman's a better choice out of the 2 if you're going to choose. But not that Gerard Butler's a bad choice at all. He's, as I say, he's got the look, he's got the fucking, he's got the physique, he's got the attitude. He can play a fucking bad man, and also he's the older dude. To me, it's very important that he's that older grizzled dude. When I first started flying around ideas, it was I didn't really think too much about the age thing, but I think he does need to be an older dude. Now, have you ever heard of Wyatt Russell?
No.
Well, Wyatt Russell is the son of Kurt Russell, who is also an actor. And also a former professional ice hockey player. So this is a dude he's in shape, and he's the fucking son of Kurt Russell. So, and he's got the long hair, he's got the jaw. Although he's not, this is not my choice. I'm just shouting him out. Although he's not like grade A star or anything like that. He's another dude that, I mean, who's gonna play Kurt Russell better than Kurt Russell's fucking son? Do you know what I mean? That's Wyatt Russell is someone that I would like to see play Snake Plissken. Not my choice, but I would like to see him play Snake Plissken just because he's the fucking son of Kurt Russell, and who's going to play that better than his own fucking blood?
Yeah, fair play, fair play.
Another shout. Now, this is not even my personal shout. I just thought of it when this first got announced, and I thought, I wonder if they would go with that because he's an up-and-coming dude. But do you know Scott Eastwood? That's Clint Eastwood's son. He's an up-and-coming actor now. He's too young and he's too good looking to play Snake Plissken. However, I just thought it'd be interesting and something that I wonder if they toyed with that idea, because Kurt Russell based his performance on Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood's fucking son is just breaking into Hollywood now, just making it into movies. Like I said, he's been in Suicide Squad. He's in the new Fast and the Furious and shit. He's just one of them that's just breaking through. So it would make sense for him to go with that dude. Not that I personally want him to, but it was just an interesting thought. But my choice for Snake Plissken is fucking the one and only John Berthnell. And I think that he would play the sickest fucking Snake Plissken. Now, I mentioned this on the social media, and a couple of people were saying, oh, no, but he's so nice, solidified to me as the Punisher. Don't matter. It's a completely different franchise. He could fucking kill it as Snake Plissken. If he grew the hair, he put the eye patch on. There is no one, in my opinion, in Hollywood now that can do that face that's seen everything, that's no fucks given in the world, to me, better than the homie John fucking Berthnell. So anyone that's watched Walking Dead will know him as Shane from Walking Dead. Anyone that's watched the Marvel Netflix series will know him as the Punisher in Daredevil. And I just think this guy would fucking kill it. I think he's the dude that you could dress up in the tactical fucking gear with long hair and eye patch and send him into a fucking war zone, and he'll come out with a crossbow stuck in his leg, battered to fuck, face bruised, cut up, with the fucking president under his arm after 24 hours. And that's my fucking choice.
That is a good choice, mate. Good choice.
Both good choices. So let's say if it's a toss between, from our two, Hugh Jackman, maybe Gerard Butler, or John Berthnell. And there's probably a much bigger chance that Hugh Jackman or Gerard Butler will play Snake Plissken, or Tom Hardy, or maybe even a wild card like Idris Elba. Let's completely switch it up and go for someone that looks completely different, but he's also a fucking bad man that can hold it down physically. But I would love to see someone fucking cool play it. I think the way you're gonna get round an Escape from New York remake is don't put a nobody in that role. Put someone in it who's got the body of work, who's a fucking fighter. Do you know what I mean? Someone that you can see. You look at him and you know that guy's fucking seen a lot of shit. That guy is a fucking bad man. That guy's killed a fucking 1,000 people in his life and does not give a fucking shit. Like, yeah. But at the same time, he's cool as fuck. He's humble as fuck. You want to be him. He's a piece of shit, but he's your kind of piece of shit. He's an arsehole, but he's your kind of arsehole. That's the dude that needs to be playing Snake Plissken. And to me, that needs to be someone that, like, when you watch The Expendables, as much as you're watching Barney Ross and you're watching Gunnar Jensen and Hail Caesar and all these dudes, you're just watching, all you know about them is that they're a mercenary squad. But because they've done all the other films in their life, that automatically subliminally holds weight in your head. So when you see Barney Ross, you think, yeah man, Stallone, the fucking guy, that guy's done bear shit. That guy's fucking killed so many people in movies. He's done so much shit. He's been in every situation. I can fucking breathe the scars on him. I can breathe the mental and physical scars this dude's been through. I can see that. I can smell it on him. And that's what you need, in my opinion, to play Snake Plissken. And I think that John Berthnell can do that. Because I feel that when I see John Berthnell. You heard it from
Theo first. Conor McGregor for Snake Plissken.
No. It wouldn't surprise me
One
if Conor
fucking
McGregor...
Snake Plissken and I'll take your fucking head clean off with a left shot.
It wouldn't surprise me if he had a cameo in it or some shit, or if he starts cameoing in stuff soon. I heard that he was gonna have a...
I'm joking. I don't want to see Conor McGregor as Snake
No,
Plissken.
I don't. He's not Snake Plissken. He's too young, man. He's too young. You need a bit older. Needs to be that late 30s, mid 40s, I think. No,
I want to hear from the
mid-40s,
people in the comments, by the way, under this, because I'm a Conor McGregor fan, and I see through the bravado and understand that he's just incorporating the WWF style showmanship aspect into the pre-fight shit to maximise the viewership, to make himself the most money for when he actually fights. Some people fucking hate him though. Me, myself, I'm a huge Conor McGregor fan, so people that listen to the podcast, let us know in the comments whether or not you are, because I want to know what people think about that.
And you're forgetting as well that Conor McGregor talks way too much to play Snake Plissken. Snake Plissken barely fucking says out.
No, I was just joking.
And this is another reason why I like John Berthnell, because you can tell he's like a quiet kind of guy. And I've seen his interviews at Comic Con and stuff, and you can just tell he's just like a cool fucking bad man in real life. He's just that guy. So I know I keep shouting at John Berthnell, but if they're gonna remake Escape from New York, if I was given the job to direct Escape from New York, he would be my first and only fucking choice. Or I would just walk off the fucking picture and I wouldn't do it, and I'd let Michael Bay fuck it up. I wouldn't give a shit.
Oh, rough. Nah, Michael Bay definitely not for directing.
And also Ricardo Lacombe had a good shout. He said that 100. He said something like 100 quid. Machete plays the Duke, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. Danny Trejo playing the Duke.
That would be sick.
Yeah, and he's got it. He's definitely going to be in there. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure he'll fucking be in there. And if he played the Duke, it'd make so much fucking sense. But that's us for tonight, man. We just wanted to have a quick discussion who we think should play Snake Plissken. If you've got a suggestion, then let us know in the comments below. I'm Theo Cane, that's Respek BA, and this has been the motherfucking Lowdown Shelter. If you want to listen to anything else that we've done, go to www.slimehousetv.com. We're also, if you want to drop us any questions or discussion topics for future podcasts, that's www.facebook.com/slimehousetv. And you can also hit us up on my YouTube channel if you want to leave comments on there, or check the other shit at youtube.com/Theo Cane Garvey. But for now, we're fucking gone.